When do I quit?
You don't have to go the traditional route of going to college, getting a 9-to-5, making money. You have other options. You can go out and be enough as you are.
This actually has me upset now. I not at this guy, not at Project XYZ. It's the fact that this is what he was sold.
That was kind of the reminder to me is you have to look at your numbers occasionally just to make sure that things are actually making sense.
All right, Gummy.
How are you?
What's up, brother? How you been?
I'm pretty good, actually.
Yeah?
Despite the
ferocious winds that were coming over. Yeah,
I know.
We're in northeastern United States, and man, the wind has been. I mean, I'm sure there's people in other parts of the country like that's every day for us, or we're just not used to it.
No, not this type of wind.
It's been rough.
We were
trees down, poles down.
Yeah.
I mean,
so we were gonna go snow tubing this weekend.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm like,
fly away.
So it was gonna be us and some friends of ours, and one of their daughters is like, I don't know, 4 years old, and she might weigh 20 pounds.
Oh yeah, she's
right?
gonna get taken off.
So Sunday morning, I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, so let me look at the weather up there, and it's like, oh, feel like temperature of 14 degrees with 50-mile-per-hour gusts, and I'm like, yeah, we're not doing that. Nope.
There were so many trees down in this area,
Oh, yeah.
debris everywhere. I mean, there's still roads that are closed now.
Mm-hmm.
Our office was out of power for 2.5 days.
Oh, really?
No power, none. It was freezing in here.
Crazy.
I came in. I told everybody to stay at home, but I came in. I can't work. I'm not one of those work from home guys. I just can't do it.
I can't do it either.
I got a nice spot to do it at home. I hate doing it.
I do too. I have an office in my house, but I end up getting distracted, and then I find myself like baking bread and doing the laundry.
There's always something I can do.
Yeah, and then I'm
just
like,
for 5 minutes, I want to go do this real quick, and it's an hour later.
Let me just check the news to see what's going on in the world, right? Like, yeah.
So, the wind here was pretty awful. So part of the business owner experience, so to speak, or the entrepreneur experience, is the hiring process. And I don't think we talk enough about the hiring process. So today, I want to talk about the hiring process because, my God, it sucks.
Do you want to talk about the having to vet hundreds of applications, book?
Let's start from the beginning.
Okay.
Seriously, let's start from the beginning, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you get your job posting together and you put it up online.
Well, first you got to figure out the job description.
Oh, please.
Right?
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, because
I don't even know why you would waste your time. It doesn't matter. People don't read it. You know what they read? What's the title and what does it pay?
Yes. So the thing that I found out why it matters is later on in the process, because I have hired someone that like 6 months in went, well, that wasn't in the job description. I'm like, okay.
And your point being?
And they're like, well, I'm not going to do it. It wasn't in the job description when I applied for the job.
Wow.
Okay. So that's why I said, like, for some industries, you got to make sure your job description includes things like and other tasks we may assign to you.
Are you kidding me?
No, I am not.
That is ridiculous.
I know.
Jobs change over time. Okay, people, listen. Jobs change over time because requirements change over time.
Correct.
I can't tell you right now what I'm going to have you doing as an employee of mine in 6 months. I can't. Because it's going to change. It's going to change drastically in some cases.
Yeah, as this person was looking at me and like was being dead serious, all I kept thinking was, I wonder if I could have gotten away with this when I was younger.
No way.
Like, could I have just told my boss, like, sorry, that wasn't in the job description.
It really seems like all this stuff changed after the pandemic.
I am not going outside to pick up trash because that was not in my job description, even though all the trash is outside because of us. Nope, not going to do it.
So anyway, okay, so get a good job description together. After you get your job description together and you post it, you decide on where you're going to post it at. But let's talk about after that, when the resumes start coming in. Okay, the resumes start coming in, and this is what I never understood. About 5 years ago, I figured it out. I figured out what was going on, but for the longest time, I never understood. Why are people sending resumes that have absolutely two things? One, no intention whatsoever of taking this job. And two, no skills to perform this job. right? You get a nice variety of those types of people. Okay. Do you know what the reason is? Do you know why that happens?
I have no idea what the reason is, but I see it a lot.
Yeah. The reason is because certainly in Pennsylvania, and I think in most states, if you're unemployed, you had a job, you got fired, whatever, laid off, whatever, you're collecting unemployment, you are required to demonstrate that you are applying for jobs.
Yes.
Right?
That you're actively trying.
So people with, that were, I don't know, let's just say they were landscapers, are applying for jobs as attorneys, even though they don't have a law degree, just to show that they've applied for a job. And then other people that were, were attorneys, or let's say software developers. They were software developers, or still are software developer, just not professionally. Apply for jobs, look great on the resume, and then you reach out to them, and they're like, "No, not interested." Then why did you apply? Oh, I know why you applied. Yep. So you can show the caseworker on your workers that you're on your unemployment, that you're actively looking for employment.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I mean,
so it happens a lot.
I've gotten applications, like I've said it before, that we stopped hiring based on resumes for the most part. So we will skim through them, and the only thing I'm looking for in your resume is how frequently you switch jobs. I don't care what your skill set is. Like, I don't really look at that. The only thing I look at is how long did you last in your last job, or your last 2 jobs or 3 jobs, right? Because it gives me an indication of how long I'm going to keep you after I spend my time training you.
Yeah. And go ahead.
And then we literally send an email out to everyone telling them, hey, we'd like to book you for an interview. And we can send out 20 of those. We will get 6 or 7 responses from people. And we'll get between 3 and 4 people that actually show up for the interview. That's what the numbers.
I love it.
We put out this was like just at the end of the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
We put out a job description. We put it up on Facebook, LinkedIn, and like 3 places. We got 79 applications. We got 11 people that actually responded to us in any level, whether we called them, texted them, emailed them.
Yeah.
We had 4 people that booked an interview, and we had 1 person that actually showed up for an interview.
And I deal with that every day. Like, okay, so I've been trying to hire for an assistant, right? 6 months, probably about 6 months. I've been trying to find an assistant. You would think an assistant. This is a very, very, just like yours, very laid back office. Very easy, low stress, right? Trying to find an assistant, someone who can help me manage calendars and emails and take calls and things like that. And the resumes that come in, I would say, because that's an easier job, doesn't require a lot of education. I would say 60% of them are good. Are like, okay, this person might have something. Let's schedule an interview. Out of every 10 that I respond to, 3 get back to me. Sure. 1 of them shows up.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't understand why. How can you do that?
So I think,
can you at least send a courtesy email? Hey, I got another job. Hey, I moved on. I decided I don't want this position, which I have gotten a few of those, but I don't get it.
I think there's a lot of things that have changed around us, right? Which is interesting because there are now way more ways to make money in a relatively easy way.
Yeah.
That didn't exist when you and I were younger. Like, there was no Uber, there was no Lyft, there was no DoorDash.
Yeah, the gig economy, sure.
Correct. And even certain other jobs. Like, I just think there has been a mindset shift as far as work is concerned, right? For people our age, Gen X, older, probably even the millennials, work was just part of your life, right? Like it wasn't treated as something separate or bad, and now I feel like work is looked upon as something that you just have to do.
Right.
Like I have to get a job. Well, no, you should want to get a job. You should want to contribute. You should want to have something to do. But, you know, it's just kind of what I think.
It's all right. All right. Anyway, we're going in circles here.
Yes.
So anyway, so the interview, so applications come in, you review, the interview process starts. Okay. Now let's say they actually get to the interview table. Okay.
Yes.
All right. I had a guy, because I was interviewing for a paralegal as well.
Oh,
Gummy.
I remember this one.
He showed up in sweatpants and a sweatshirt.
Yeah.
For a paralegal.
Yeah.
Paralegal.
Hey, listen. That's another thing that's changing drastically is dress code. Like, I am telling you.
Gummy. I don't understand. Bless you.
Yeah, thank you. I am telling you, dress code is one of those things that is changing as well, as far as what people think they can get away with. Like, I don't want to knock yoga pants specifically.
No, I'm kidding. Get
But I can't tell you how many females have showed up for a job interview in yoga pants. And I'm like, since when did yoga pants become like, let's call it business casual attire when you go in for an interview, right? Like you would think that's kind of unless you're going into interview for like a factory job or a warehouse job, I wouldn't expect you to be like business casual.
Yeah, sure.
I would expect you to be somewhat casual, but when you're going into an office setting, you know, I would think business casual would be kind of like the minimum dress code. But no, I've had people show up in yoga pants. I've had people show up in sweatpants, hoodies. Now, if it's like it is today, I don't blame them if they're wearing a hoodie. I would be like, good, you have common sense not to be cold. But when someone shows up and they could have worn a blazer or a nicer jacket and like a pair of pants. I don't even judge jeans anymore. Like I don't
pants,
but just pants, right? Like I had a guy show up in an interview literally in khaki shorts.
Oh my God.
Right. And I'm like, were you out in the yard working and then you just decided to swing by for the interview? Like, did you not know this was coming? Because we booked this 3 days ago. I don't know. We're just ranting, I think.
Oh no, I know, and I'm going to continue because this is what you're going to experience,
or venting.
This is what you're going to experience as a business owner. All right, so they come. So let's say they come for the interview, and the interview is good and it's going well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, twice in my career have I offered somebody the job on the spot. Okay, and actually, it just happened the other day. I do have a new person starting. Thank God.
Oh, nice.
Excited. However.
Mm-hmm.
One time when I offered the person the job on the spot, they said they had to think about it. And I didn't like that.
It's not.
No. I completely understand from that. And I don't want to get hate messages for this, but I completely understand from their point of view.
Mm-hmm.
But my feeling on it is you're out there looking for a job.
Mm-hmm.
You liked the ad. You came in for the interview. The salary is obviously what you're looking for because we obviously had to negotiate that. Why wouldn't you take the job?
Maybe she had an interview the next day.
So we're plan B.
No.
Yes, we are plan B. I don't want someone who wants me as plan B.
No, no.
Yes.
So I'm not okay with that.
I am plan B. That's the way I look at it.
When I interviewed back in the day, right? Like I was in sales. So people wanted good salespeople like crazy.
Right.
And I went for an interview and they were like, okay, when can you start? And I'm like, I'm not sure that I'm ready to start today or tomorrow. I'm like, I'm going to need a couple of days to kind of, now that I know more about the business and stuff than when I came in for the interview, I'm like, I'd like to at least get 24 hours to think about it. Now I had an interview lined up for the next day as well. And for me, it was just a matter of which one fit in more with like, which one I thought was going to fit in with my lifestyle more than anything else. Right.
I get that. I understand. I do. But I feel like
it's like when you go buy a car, right?
But it's not buying a car.
And you're comparing two cars. Is the car you test drove first plan B?
Okay, hold on. I have an answer to this. Let me think about it.
So for me, it came down to Tesla, or VW ID4.
Yep.
Right. So I had seen the Tesla multiple times. I had driven the Tesla. I've been a passenger in a Tesla because a friend of mine owns a Tesla. And I went and test drove the ID4. I really wanted the Tesla, but I ended up buying the ID4 because once I drove it, I ended up liking it more. There was just little things that I liked more. So which car was plan B? Was the ID4 the plan B, or was the Tesla the plan B? Because
okay. So hold on. So let's let's change the scenario just a little bit.
Okay.
So let's say you did like the ID4 better.
Yep.
Okay, which I think you did in the end. Right?
I did. Yeah.
And then you go and they say, oh, it's not going to be available for 12 weeks or something like that, but the Tesla's available today, and you don't want to wait. And you decide, I guess I'll reluctantly take the Tesla, even though it wasn't my first choice. Think the Tesla's going to be happy about that?
The Tesla's going to be happy.
No, seriously, that's how I feel. I feel like, wait. So you came for the interview.
No. We got to go back to do you think the Tesla's going to be happy about that? So
it's got AI built to do it, you know?
So this is really about feelings.
It's 100% about feelings. Of course it is.
She hurt your feelings by saying she wanted to think about it.
It's less, I would say it's less about hurting my feelings and more about, does that person really want to work here? Right? I want people that want to work at my company.
Right. But so you have to remember there are different types of people. Right?
I know I'm alone on this. I'm sure I'm alone on this.
You're not, right? But you have to remember you and I and a lot of entrepreneurs were instant decision makers, right? Because we're not afraid of making the wrong decision and then correcting that decision later, right? Now, if you bring in someone that's highly analytical and doesn't have that entrepreneur, they need time to digest their decisions, right? So to that person, you putting them on the spot and making the job offer right there could have been like super uncomfortable, and they just weren't comfortable saying yes.
Then I don't know that I want that personality at my office.
Trust me, there's a franchisor that I know that uses that same logic when they're recruiting franchisees, right? If the franchisee goes through the process and they say, okay, we're ready to sign you on. If the franchisee at that point goes, I'm going to need a week to think about it.
You're out.
They're out.
You're out. And that's what I said to this person. I said, oh, you're not ready to, okay, then the job offer is off the table. Thank you very much.
Right.
I did that. I'm not put up with,
but once again,
if you want to work here, and you really want to work here, and that's why I would assume that's why you came for the interview. Otherwise, you're window shopping.
Well, yeah, you are. The very first interview you go in, you're just checking out the vibes and stuff.
Actually, okay, second. Okay, so that first person was the second interview. This person I hired yesterday was first interview. I've never done that before.
Okay.
That was the second interview. So this person did come in for the second interview, but it doesn't matter.
That changes it. So she had already been in here once and came back again.
Yes.
Well, then I get it. But you made it sound like you offered her a job on the spot. Like she came in or he came in.
Right.
And you were like, I like you. I think this is going to work. Here's the job offer.
Yeah.
That is not like second interview.
So,
yes.
Okay. So let's say it was first interview. Okay. Yes. And they said, sounds good. However, I'm waiting to hear from another company on a job offer from them.
Okay.
Does that change anything for you?
No.
Why not? Why not? You got the money you want, the job you want.
Yep.
Come here and work. Well, I'm waiting for their job. So you are plan B. You're absolutely plan B.
In that case, they're telling you are not necessarily plan B.
You're plan B.
No, you're a comparison, right? Because now you're comparing two jobs. So when I was offered the sales jobs, right? So I went in and I interviewed. They offered me the job on the spot, and I told them I'm going to need at least 24 hours to think about it. I went in to the second interview, talked to those guys, and got job offers that same afternoon. The second place actually ended up offering me more money, but I ended up taking the job from the first place.
That's a different story. Right? I can understand I'm waiting to see if for more money. I can see that.
But I didn't take the job with more money. I actually took the job with less money because I felt like I would be a better fit at that company.
Oh, that's cool.
Right?
See that I like.
So, but if they would have thrown me out and said, if you're not taking the job today, I would have said, okay, fine, then I won't come work here, and I would have ended up in the second place.
Yeah.
Right? By default.
Right. And you would have been miserable because of it.
Correct. But because I gave them the opportunity both to submit an offer, I was able to choose based on other factors than just money.
Okay. So you just said the word offer. And it is absolutely is a job offer.
Yes.
Totally understand that. Maybe that's where just so we're clear, my background. Out of college, I worked at a company in Delaware, large company in Delaware, for about 6 months. No, about 9 months. And then I moved to a large company in Philadelphia that I worked at for 3 years. Since then, I've been an entrepreneur.
Right.
Now, I took some time. I worked with my uncle for a while in New Jersey but I was helping him build his business more than anything else. I was an employee technically, but I was helping him build his business more than anything else. And that's when I went to law school, became the GC at his company, really COO, really helped him build his company. So I've been an entrepreneur since, 3 years out of college.
Yep.
So maybe I'm just not understanding, but when the company offers you a job, am I saying this right?
So
I don't want to get hate mail.
So you're going to get hate mail. So I was sitting at a bar at the Mountain Resort up in Stowe the one time. And I'd been sitting there all day because I was rewriting a book, right? So the lady there was a bartender, right? And we had kind of I'd been ordering food and stuff the entire day. And then someone came in and ordered a beer, and she accidentally poured the wrong beer into the glass. And the guy was like, I think you got the wrong beer. It's supposed to be darker. And she went, oh, sorry. So she came over to me and said, hey, do you want this beer? And I said, no, thank you. And she's like, but it's free, right? I'm like, yeah, but so is a punch in the face. It doesn't mean that I want it, right? That was still an offer.
That's a horrible response, by the way.
No, it's not, right?
So it was a punch in the face.
Well, but she was like, I know, right? But just because somebody offers you something doesn't mean they're obligated to take it right then and there.
No, but if you're looking for a beer,
I still wouldn't have taken that beer.
If you were looking for let's say,
if I would have been looking desperate
for a Kolsch, she comes over with a Kolsch and says, here,
correct,
and you say no.
If it was the exact beer that I had been looking for, I would take it. Maybe not the same brand,
but a Kolsch nonetheless.
I don't know.
Oh, I don't know, man. I just feel like, again, maybe it's just me. I just feel like if you're in the job market and you're looking for a good company and you get there and you feel if you want to work at that place, that's why you're at that interview, especially the second interview, right? You want to be at that place. And if the job is offered to you then and there, why not take it?
Right. So once again, second interview is different than first.
Go back to the first interview.
First interview, I don't think I've taken a job ever on the first interview, even though I have been offered. I have always said, I've never said flat no. I've said I'd like to come back in and see how you guys operate before I take the job.
I'm trying to get in that mindset. It's just really hard.
And because I've had an instance where I was offered a job and I said, hey, I'd like to be able to come in and spend a couple of hours
but
here.
You can always quit.
Correct. But why go through that entire process when I could save the time? I can come in the next day, hang out with people for a couple of hours, ask other people questions. And in that instance, I came in the next day, spent a couple of hours with a couple of the employees, had conversations with them and stuff. And before I left, I walked into the boss's office and said, sorry, I don't think this is a good fit for me. Right? But I had only ever talked to the boss, and if I would have made my decision based on that, I would have been miserable.
Okay, I can accept the thank you for the offer. Let me come in and see what the culture is like. Okay, you know what? I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that. But when you tell me you're not going to accept my offer because there's somebody else, I don't know, man. It's a love triangle.
It is. It's not. I was just going to say it's not a marriage.
Absolutely, it is.
It is not a marriage.
It absolutely is.
It is not a marriage.
Why not?
Someone working for you is not a marriage.
Well, when you're joining a company, it is.
It is. If you're joining as a partner, yeah.
No, well, when you're joining a company, well, it's certainly a relationship.
Correct. So is my dog. My dog and me have a relationship.
But you love your dog. Okay, I love my dog.
Yeah, I know. So yeah, no, like coming on as an employee with someone, I know every job that I have taken that I show up tomorrow and that could be my last day.
I want a third person in this room. I wish my buddy Scott was here earlier. I wish he was still here. I want a third person in this conversation.
But as a employee, you know that your head could be on the chopping block any day of the week.
Oh yeah, of course.
Right?
Of course. But also as the employer, you know that someone could offer your employee a better salary and they'll leave in a heartbeat.
I get it. That's why
there's no loyalty anywhere.
That is why,
and that includes marriages.
That's why that's why it's not a marriage, right? Because a marriage is bound on a lot more than an employee-employer relationship.
And mine is, yours is, but not everybody's.
Employee shows up because at end of day, employee get money.
Yeah,
right.
All right, should we get into it?
I'd hope your wife shows up at home.
No, I said my marriage, your marriage, definitely on a different level. But I'm telling you, there are definitely some marriages out there that
are transactional.
Are absolutely transactional, no question about it.
I don't even question it.
What was it, Bill Belichick, right?
Oh, he's with that the
19-year-old,
whatever.
Yeah, it's like 20-year-old or something like that. Yeah, that's all love right there. All love.
It is
all love.
Do you not remember? What was her name? Anna Nicole Smith.
Yeah.
That was
all love.
That was true love.
True love.
I read the story.
God bless. True love.
The guy said it was true love because she expected nothing from him.
All right, now before we get sued for defamation, okay. Before we keep going, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already.
Oh, and the like button. The like button's our friend.
The like button is our friend. Yes, we do like the like button. So please hit that too.
And thanks for the support. Let's keep it moving.
So we are under entrepreneurship today. This is the subreddit Entrepreneurship. This is, let's see, from Rockhounder60, who says, help with expense tracking. Are there apps? What's the best app? What's the best expense tracking app? I have to start recording all my gasoline purchases. I buy things from Amazon and Home Depot, etc. It was hard to differentiate hundreds of receipts and say I had $1,000 for tools and $500 for supplies or parts. I want to do this for every purchase so next year tax season goes smoother. Any advice?
So I can tell you.
I'm going to give you a completely different answer, by the way, but go ahead.
Probably. This is why it's important to have just like a single credit card or two credit cards.
Yeah.
That you put all of it on one. All of your business expenses
because then they have it for you right there. You just go and print it out.
Correct.
Yeah.
And same thing. This is why, like, even me as a non-contractor, I even have like a contractor account with Home Depot, because then I can punch in a code, right? Or I can punch in a PO number. So at the end of the year, whoever's doing my books could literally log into Home Depot and they can get an overview of what the PO is for each, right? So some could be tools, some could be a job name, an address, whatever. So same thing, gasoline purchases, you don't have to keep your receipts. As long as you swipe that credit card, you don't anymore.
Well, you don't need them for the IRS?
No.
Really?
I don't. As long as it's an obvious expense, as long as it says Shell or BJ's gasoline.
That's good enough.
Yes.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that. I thought you had to have your receipts.
No, but my CPA told me years ago, she's like, they are no longer expecting you to have receipts for things like gas stations or
that's good to know.
Or like restaurants.
Okay.
Right? Because it's obvious if it says,
but if it's Target,
Dan's Mexican,
you can't do that.
Correct.
Because you don't know what you bought at Target. Correct. Was it clothing? Was it TV?
Correct. So when it's a disputable expense line item on a credit card, you should keep the receipt.
Okay.
But like if it says USPS or UPS,
right.
You
know what that is.
probably shipped something or had something printed, right?
Right.
Like if it says Golf Galaxy,
very different story.
Yes. But yeah, so like we do 90% of our expense tracking is simply by making sure we do not pay for anything in cash. Everything goes on either a credit card or debit card. And if we don't get a bill, like when we get a bill, it's easy because it gets entered and then a check gets cut, right? But yeah, we stopped using cash for anything probably about 8 years ago.
Okay.
Like we do not pay anything with cash.
No, and I wouldn't expect that you would. Now we have petty cash here, right? Just like we'll put like $100 in it every couple of months, whatever, for small things, or tips or something like that.
Sometimes somebody needs
any expense has to be on a credit card or check. Has to be. So there's a paper trail for everything. My answer is exactly what I did, of course, as a software developer. I went and built an app. I built my own app for it. And it was simple. It was a simple app. If it was for my wife and I.
And those are available now, like a dime a dozen.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. But we had very specific needs for what we wanted to do as far as tracking our expenses. So I built an app for it. It took me all of a weekend to do. Yeah. You know, and it was fun to do.
And there are a lot of good apps out there to help you track expenses now. Like there's apps where you can literally like take a picture of the receipt. And then you can categorize it and everything right then and there.
So it'll OCR it, optical character recognition. It'll OCR it, scan it in, save the details, and then usually, like you said, where does this go? And then over time, it'll recognize the receipt from that company, and it'll automatically put it in the right place.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I've never had to use one of those apps.
Oh, yeah. There's a bunch of them out there.
Yeah, because once again, we only use credit cards. So there's no receipts for us to scan.
Yeah. So as far as advice here for Rockhound, I can't give you the name of a specific app to use. There's lots of them out there, but you might not need one. That's an excellent point. Use one credit card, or go out tomorrow, apply for a credit card for whatever it is. Use that credit card specifically for your business.
Actually,
purchases.
get a Chase Inc. card.
Yeah.
Specifically.
Yes.
Chase Inc. Because Chase Inc. is
best rewards.
Not only that, it's the only business credit card that doesn't show up in your personal credit profile.
Get out.
No.
Really?
If you get a Amex or any of those, that actually shows up in your personal credit profile.
But if you're paying it off, that's a good thing.
Correct. But if you want to keep your business credit things separate from yours,
Chase Inc.
Chase Inc.
Well, there you go. So use the Chase Inc. card or whatever card you're going to get, and only use that for those business purchases. Yep. And then you just go online and you download the statements, or not even the statements, the transactional. Yeah. You'll get the transaction information.
You download them and then you can import them directly into like a QuickBooks. Yep. So it's even easier.
Yeah. So that would definitely save you a lot of time, headache, and not have to worry about receipts. And I didn't know that about the receipts in the IRS.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of stuff you
every receipt. Huh. That's good to know.
We'll talk to Jen about it tomorrow.
We will talk to Jen about it tomorrow. I was not aware of that.
Yeah, I believe it's now anything that is an obvious that really can't, like, nobody's going to question Shell.
Yeah.
$72, right?
Right.
But yeah, so that's also why there are certain things that you can purchase. Like if you go in and you grab a Diet Coke and pay inside, you can technically write off that Diet Coke because nobody's going to question that transaction, right? Like the IRS is not chasing the $1.79 Diet Coke, right? They're chasing the thousands or the hundreds of thousands.
Yeah. So
a lot of that it was one of those, it's a trackable expense.
Right.
So
very cool. All right. Well, Rockhound 60, good luck with you. Like I said, great advice from Gummy. Get the credit card and just use it for your business expenses, and you won't have to worry about using those tracking apps. It's just another step that you can avoid. All right, let's see here. Oh, this is a good one. Oh, this is great. Okay, this is clearly from a youngster, let's call them. This is from Eastern Bathroom 123. To all the mature people out there who are 30 plus. God, I feel old now. Please name one mistake you have made in business and life so a young person may never repeat. Okay.
I can tell you mine.
Oh, there's just one?
Yeah, and because I did it twice.
Okay.
I trusted my bookkeeper blindly.
Oh, yeah, bad move.
What's with that face?
Bad move. I don't trust anybody
No,
with my finances but me.
But I hired like a CPA turned bookkeeper. This was the second time around. The first time around was my own damn fault, right? Like I had someone do it that should never have been doing it. The second time around, we actually brought in someone that used to be a CPA turned bookkeeper to help set up our QuickBooks.
Okay.
Well, she set up one of the accounts wrong. So it was showing revenue, but it wasn't expensing the cost of the product on the other side. So it looked like we were making killer money because we were missing 60% of the expenses associated with that income item.
Oh, man.
So we were like,
okay, they weren't robbing you. They were just miscalculating everything. Okay.
Right. So that was kind of the reminder to me is you have to look at your numbers occasionally just to make sure that things are actually making sense. Because they came to me at the end of the year and they're like, hey, we have all this money. We got to go spend it on something because otherwise we're going to be paying a boatload of taxes. So I went out and bought a $40,000 piece of equipment.
That you had the money for.
Correct, right?
Oh, man.
And then my CPA at the end of the year was actually looking at it and she's like, where's the rest of the expenses? She's like, there's expenses missing here. And we're like, what expenses are missing? And that's when we found out. There was an entire code in QuickBooks that was missing the associated expense item.
Oh, man. That's awful.
Mm-hmm.
What happened? I want to know what happened.
Nothing. We had to reconnect that item with the expense, and it showed that.
Did you have the money, though, for that equipment that you bought?
Oh, no. I ended up having to go out and get a loan for it.
Oh, okay.
So I ended up having to finance it, but I had no intention of buying the equipment or financing it. So now I had Now
you're on the hook.
Yeah, correct. Right. Now I'm screwed. Now I have to pay for this piece of equipment that we didn't necessarily really need then and there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we ended up having a payment and they only financed some of that equipment for like 24, 36 months. So that was like $1,500 a month.
Oh, man. Now, you don't have to go into detail if you don't want, but the first time, was it a similar situation where they just screwed something up?
No. So that was a family member that was doing bookkeeping for a couple of family businesses. And he would come show us the numbers and like our numbers would look good or they would look bad, whatever it was, right? Only to find out that he wasn't really entering all of the information before presenting it. Like he would leave half of the expenses or part of the income. And so like we never got a realistic idea of where the business actually stood. And then like 6 months later where I was like, listen, I'm having a hard time paying stuff. Like I need to see my numbers. Like I need to know where I stand, only to find out that we had been losing money for 6 months. Right? Like I'm like, this is why it was hard to pay stuff. Like, but if you don't know where your numbers stand, especially when you're starting out, it's almost impossible to make good business decisions because your numbers are going to dictate some of the things you can and can't do.
Okay, let's say you could go back and talk to yourself and say, "Don't do that." What's the alternative for you? Like as far as bookkeepers go, what would you have done differently?
So I would have taken the time. So my very first time, I would have decided to do more of it myself.
Okay.
Right. But someone was doing me a favor. So I was like, do you know what? That's perfect. It's one less thing I have to worry about.
So were they?
And I also wouldn't have used a family member.
So they weren't just entering information into QuickBooks. They were actively managing the finances.
So they weren't managing it per se. They were managing so that like I could see a P&L.
Yeah.
Like all the data entry portion of it, they were handling all that stuff. Right.
But they were entering it wrong.
Or not entering some of it at all. Right. So like when I would look at a P&L or balance sheet, any of that stuff, the information wasn't accurate. Right. So I was making decision based on inaccurate financial information.
Oh, man.
The second time around, I wouldn't have done anything different. I would have just made sure I would have brought back that book. So we hired that bookkeeper just to come set up our initial system, right? Because it was a brand new business. We wanted to make sure everything was set up properly. The second time around, I wouldn't have skimped it on having the bookkeeper come in 30 days, 60 days, and 90 days later to verify that all the data was correct.
Gotcha.
Like that's probably where I went wrong is we were like, hey, she's a pro. Why would she have to come back to double check? Like this should be straightforward. But she is human like everybody else. It was technically a minor mistake, but it was a minor mistake that caused a huge error.
None of it was done on purpose.
No, it was not malicious.
Like they were out there exactly trying to pull one on you, which happens all the time.
Correct.
Unfortunately.
No, this was just one was a bad decision from me choosing a family member. The other one was just human error.
Yeah. So mine, I think there's plenty of mistakes that were made, but I'll go with this one. Trusting your clients to do right by you. Okay. And what I mean by that is, so I've had, and I think we've talked about this before in the podcast. I've had clients or new clients that would come in and they would, we talk price, et cetera, and they would beat you up on price a little bit. And then what they would say is like, look, I have this vast network of people.
Yeah. Don't ever do that.
Well, I know that now, but when you're first starting out, it sounds great. I have this vast network of people. You give me a good price on this, or heck, you even do it for free. And I want to get you all this business. I want to introduce you to all my colleagues, all my associates, and, I want to show them the work that you did, and it's going to be great. So it's what a lot of influencers try to do now, right? And when you're young and naive and you're starting out, you're like, hey, what a wonderful opportunity for me, right? And I've had a couple of clients that offered that. Of course, nothing ever came of it, but the bad one was when I probably did, and this was back in my software development days, I probably did about 6 months worth of work for this person, put all the time together and didn't get paid a dime, not a dime. And not one person ever came from them or anything like that. You know how much money that is? It's half a year's worth of work.
When someone offers me this today, I always give them the same response.
Yeah.
I say, okay, so how many new clients can I expect to get from you since you're going to do this for me?
And if I don't get them.
No, and whatever number they tell me, I go, perfect. So the work I'm doing for you is going to be $20K, and you're saying I can get 10 new clients from you. So for every client you send me, I'll give you a check back for $2,000.
Yeah.
So you're going to pay me the $20,000, but once you introduce me to 10 new clients, you'll have gotten your $20,000 back. Does that sound fair? Right?
Right.
And then they're like, I'm like, that means you had no intention, nor would you.
Of course they didn't. So, So Eastern bathroom, that's another thing to be concerned with is don't let people bully you or make false promises of grandeur and, all this business is going to come your way if you work with them because they know everybody. It doesn't happen. It does not happen. Same thing with the social media influencers. Yes, there are absolutely stories where a influencer goes to a restaurant and that restaurant gets bombarded with business. Yes, it does happen. Well, people win the lottery too.
Correct.
Right? 9 times out of 10 or 99 times out of 100, when that social media influencer eats at that restaurant for free, the restaurant just lost a meal. That's all that came out of it.
You might get 10 people that show up that never show up again.
Yeah.
Right? Do you remember Groupon?
Still out there. What do you mean? Do I remember it?
So a buddy of mine owned a restaurant, actually owned multiple restaurants, and they stopped advertising on Groupon because what they found out is you basically had a team of people that were Grouponers.
Yeah.
So they would never come to the restaurant if they didn't have a Groupon to go to the restaurant. So they were like, we're not getting in new people because of this. We're not getting in regular customers.
It's a race to the bottom sometimes.
Correct. He's like, we're breaking even on every meal we serve them and they never come back. Right. The whole idea.
Without a Groupon. Right.
Correct. The whole idea behind the Groupon was someone comes, visits your restaurant, likes it, and comes back.
Yeah.
Right. And he was like, we noticed it was always the same people that showed up with a Groupon. Because the waitresses noticed and
So anyway, Eastern bathroom 1, 2, 3. That's those are our stories. I'm sure there's plenty of others out there. I'm curious to look at some of the comments here on this. Let's see. Beware of shiny objects. This is from Lewis Merrick 56. Beware of shiny objects. In the long run, sticking with one thing and becoming great at it pays off better than dabbling in many things. Yeah. Oh yes.
So
absolutely.
So we absorbed another company, and that's that would be what she would tell you her mistake was, is that she kept chasing shiny objects instead of focusing on the core of her business.
Right. Yeah.
Once we absorbed her and said, you can't chase shiny objects, like this is what you're doing.
Right.
All of a sudden she went, if I would have done this myself, I would still be by myself.
Chasing
and I'm like,
the next thing.
And I'm like, yeah. You wouldn't.
That happens so often where you get, you're in this mindset of running your business, and then you read or watch a video where somebody tells you something that's the next cool thing. And you're like, oh, maybe I'll take, 5% of my time for my business and do this. And that 5% becomes 25% real soon.
So this
50%.
This is part of the reason I like franchises as a first business for you, right? Whether you sign a 3-year or 5-year
you're
franchise,
locked in on what you're going to do. Yeah.
It's what it teaches you, right? Is you follow this process, you do this, but I want to do this. Well, you can't do that if you're a franchisee, because this is your box. Stay within your box, right? And that's also why franchises are so successful, because you can't go chasing after shiny objects, right? You can't go buy a Serve Pro and then all of a sudden start doing basement waterproofing.
Right.
They just go no.
Right.
So it's kind of cool when you look at like franchises, like they box you in and they do it for a reason. They do it for the same reason we tell people, like, don't chase shiny objects, right? Don't chase someone, like go to a McDonald's and ask for a ribeye steak.
Yeah.
Right. And they're going to be like, what? Right?
Do you mean the McRib?
Right. Or go to a steakhouse and ask for a burger, right? They're going to look at you like you're weird. Well, it's because they're not trying to chase that one customer. They're literally trying to build a business around the clientele. Yeah. And that one-off is not going to build consistent clientele.
Yeah. No, true. And again, and what it does is, instead of becoming great at something, you're good at a bunch of things. You can't be good. You got to be great.
Actually, Sunday night, I was on the phone with a friend of mine, and he's a deck builder, right? He's always said, I'm a deck builder. He's like, I love building decks. And that's what I do. Yeah. And I tell everybody he's a deck builder, right? So he calls me on Sunday and he's like, I'm having an issue. And I'm like, what? He's like, I took on this big project with someone else. And I'm like, is it a deck? And he goes, no. I'm like,
there's your problem.
Right. There's your problem. Yeah. Right. Are you able to do this other work? Yes. But you don't want to be there. You don't want to do it. You did it just because you thought it was going to be a lot of money. And now it looks like you're barely going to break even on this project. Right. That's what happens when you chase shiny objects instead of focusing on your core business.
Yeah, it's true. Leave the butterflies be. Let them fly away.
Yes.
All right, Eastern Bathroom, good luck to you.
Do you know the original word for butterfly apparently was flutterby?
Really?
And it changed over time?
I did not know that.
I think I read that somewhere. One of those.
Sounds like a Pokemon, flutterby.
I know. But it makes more sense than butterfly.
Yeah, I could see it.
Right? It, like, when I read
it's not made of butter.
Correct. And it does flutter. And it like it was
flutters by you.
It was a word. I don't know. I don't remember where I read it. I think it was one of those, like, before cell phones, like those bathroom. Do you remember the Uncle John bathroom books?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So I think it was in one of those I read it, and I was like, they went back to origins of words.
Yep.
And then how we, like, what the word is today.
Massacred them. Yeah.
Correct. And that was one of the words that I always remembered, and I was like, huh.
I'll look that one up. I don't remember that. Okay, this is from Department Ecstatic. Says, so we'd like some insight on buying an e-commerce business. They say, hi there. We are a late 30s couple saving in hopes of buying a business to gain freedom. I believe this year is going to be the year. We are just looking for the right business for sale that will replace both our incomes. We are really leaning towards e-commerce, as this will grant us freedom of movement, not having a brick and mortar storefront. We are looking at many different types of businesses. We both have a lot of experience and skill sets to offer and would like to find something we can run together. So many changes are taking place rapidly this year so far with the government and other things. I feel that that climates are shifting in some different directions, could potentially leave a lot of things being a bit unpredictable. If you currently own an e-commerce business or have in the past, I'm just looking for thoughts, ideas, or feedback. If you would like to share, thanks in advance. So they want to buy a business and they want to be looking at an e-commerce business. That scares me.
Me too.
You've never run a business before, and the first thing you want to run is an e-commerce business. Oh, man. E-commerce business by itself is difficult.
Yes.
And that's for an experienced entrepreneur.
You have to be a master at fulfillment and distribution and
marketing.
Understand and the marketing side of it. Now, if you're buying
it's existing, sure.
Correct, right? So like
but
you should have idea of creatives needed for marketing. You should have a distribution channel in place. You should have a way to handle the returns. But I don't think it's as much freedom as people think. Whether it's an e-commerce or a retail, yes, a retail store, you have to have someone to open and close it.
Yeah.
E-commerce, it doesn't matter whether it's 2 a.m. or 2 p.m. Like you're still doing work.
Well, it's and the question, the word that you used, freedom, and I know that they said it as well. What do they mean by freedom?
Correct.
Right? Because if you own a business, you're spending a lot more time than you think running that business.
Especially if you just bought it.
Yeah. Right. Because the learning curve is going to be huge. And getting up to speed on the customers and the product and the sourcing of the materials or whatever it is that you're doing. Even, let's say it's digital, all digital assets. Great, who's making them? And there's a lot of stuff to consider. If by freedom you think that you're going to have a better life as far as time availability, you are wrong. That is just not the case.
Not in the beginning.
Not in the beginning. Even later on.
Yeah, even with an established business, it's
but if freedom is, I don't have to answer to somebody else. Okay, to a point, right? If freedom is financial independence, probably not for a little while.
Right.
Even with an existing business, it's going to take a little while before you become financially independent.
I mean, the good thing is they're doing the right thing. They're going out and asking questions. Right. So my advice would be find someone that has been in e-commerce only.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And have an actual conversation with them about what's needed logistically. Like, what skill sets do I need to run an e-commerce business? Because there are e-commerce businesses out there that are, I call them like plug and play, where it's kind of like the MLM market, where all the products are there for you. All the marketing stuff is there for you. Your job is just to go out and basically sell it.
Right.
And someone else handles the distribution, the returns, all that stuff. It's the same thing as we see on like print on demand services.
Right. Yeah.
Right. It's kind of like that. We see the same thing in promotional products. Right? None of these promotional products companies that you deal with, well, I shouldn't say none. Very few of them manufacture anything. They're just sourcing the item and sending it to a printer,
right,
and then delivering it to you, right?
Yeah.
They're just a middleman. So there's a lot of different things, and you also have to figure out like what e-commerce, like, what are you going to sell? Are you going to sell sporting goods? Are you going to sell cars? Are you going to sell cups? Right? Are you going to be the next big Stanley retailer? Right. So yes, I'm all for people getting into e-commerce. I think it's not a bad market at all to be in, but you have to know, just like with any other business, what you're getting into, and what all the different elements are involved.
And more importantly, in addition to all that stuff, what do you expect out of it? Answer that question for yourself. Is what are you trying to get out of this, right? Again, we went through some examples. Are you looking for more time, independent, financial independence, personal independence? What exactly are you trying to get out of running a business? And believe me, I'm all for it. I mean, that's what this whole show is about, is helping people run their businesses. But I also don't want to see you get in a situation where, you're in your late 30s, you're spending all your money on this business, and it falls apart because you don't know what you're doing, So try to figure out what it is that you are expecting out of this too, because that's going to help. That's going to help you drive whatever it is you're doing inside the business.
Correct. Yeah. But once again, by all means, just know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
And don't pick an industry just because it's making money now. Have at least some interest in the products that you're selling.
Yeah.
Because it's going to make marketing it easier.
Yeah. And you know, if you had just said we're buying a business, the advice would probably be a little bit different.
But for the most part,
the e-commerce portion is what scares me the most.
I think people have this starry vision of e-commerce that it's a lot of money and little work, right?
It's not.
It's not.
Not by any means.
It's a lot of work, and yes, it can be a lot of money as well. But yeah, there's a lot more work running an e-commerce business than people think. Yeah.
All right. Department ecstatic. Good luck to, well, I guess both of you, since you're a couple. I hope it works out for you. Hey, drop a comment. Let us know, what it is that you're doing.
Or if you ended up buying something.
Yeah,
and just be careful, because like if you go on to places like Biz Buy Sell, sometimes you'll see that there are existing e-commerce business for sale.
Careful.
And the funny thing is they'll have all the numbers to back it up and all the revenue. The part that often gets left out of that is that the people that start these are the master marketers that are really, really good at the marketing side of things, but not necessarily good at building and scaling. So when you're buying that, you're losing the marketer. Right. So that has to be something you're good at. Yeah. If you're then good at scaling as well, then fantastic. You have a great opportunity. Just, you need to be aware of those things.
No, that's an excellent point. What is the business going to lose when the current owner steps away?
Correct.
Yeah. Great point. All right. Project XYZ says, you don't need to own a business. Oh, well, I guess we'll wrap it up. We're done. So when I was like 16, I discovered entrepreneurship and saw it was a way to become a valuable person. It's not the only way, but it's a way, sure. I always had very low self-worth, and I liked how influencers who sold me the entrepreneurship dream made me feel special for not being like the employed brokies. Brokies? Okay, broke people, I guess? I don't know.
Yes.
So I spent 10 years isolated trying to make it big, didn't go out, didn't make any friends except for a few other dream catchers, but
dream
chasers. But for the past few months, I picked up a few new hobbies, met a lot of people. All of them are employed. And it turns out there aren't losers at all, despite what the influencers told us, yada, yada. Okay, so this is a rant against entrepreneurism because you were sold a bill of goods.
So you saw the name that was in there.
Did I?
Yeah. Okay. I always had very low self-worth, and I liked how the influencers who sold me entrepreneurship dream
the influencers, yeah.
early ate Tates.
Oh, I completely skipped over that.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So, yes, people like that, they are not selling you entrepreneurship. Now, if you compare like the Andrew Tates of the world to the Alex Hermosis, or like some of the people that have actually made it by building businesses, not by being cocky kickboxers, they're two totally different things, right? So there are influencers that are actually helpful and trying to help you. And then there are influencers that are absolutely taking advantage of you. And if you decide to listen to the ones that are selling you on some digital course that really doesn't have a path moving forward, yes, you're going to lose. Yeah. If you listen to the guys that, or ladies, whatever, that teach you how to buy and build businesses and literally are showing you how to do it or how they did it, right? At least you have an idea of the work involved, right?
And, entrepreneurship is not ever, well, I shouldn't say ever, but it's very rarely a one and done. It's a process. It's something you go through. You'll go through multiple businesses. You'll go through multiple ideas. You'll go through multiple decades in some cases before you actually make it work for yourself.
Yep.
That's the reality of it. Okay. And all along, we always talk about your learning and this and that and the other. It's very, very rare that, well, let me put it this way, right? We'll go back to the gold rush, right? I bring this example up every once in a while. Go back to the gold rush. What happened during the gold rush in the 1840s? People went out west, started mining for gold, et cetera, et cetera. You know who got rich? The people selling the pickaxes and the dynamite. They're the ones that got rich. So I always go back to that. I say, if someone is selling you on an idea, why aren't they just doing it themselves? Right? Why are you so lucky that if you pay them $500, you'll get their idea and be successful? Just, you got to think, it just doesn't work like that.
It's even better when you can then resell their idea.
Yeah, right, and resell it to somebody else. Exactly.
So I just read the rest of this.
Yeah, good.
At the end of the day, his messages is decent because he's saying you don't have to go the traditional route.
Okay.
You don't have to. That's how I'm taking it, right?
Okay.
Is you don't have to go the traditional route of going to college, getting a 9-to-5, making money. You have other options. You can go out and be enough as you are, right? Regardless of what you choose. And this is what I always come back to is, go out and be a landscaper, go out and be a plumber, go out. You don't have to follow the be an entrepreneur or the college route. Like, do what you like. And I will guarantee you in almost every case, there is going to be enough money in that.
Yeah. I just like you, I just read the rest of this. This actually has me upset now. I not at this guy, not at Project XYZ. It's the fact that this is what he was sold. He was told that if you don't, basically it sounds like, and tell me if you agree, that if you don't go out and do this, if you don't go out and do that entrepreneurial dream, you're a loser. Right. That's what it sounds like. That's what he was told.
It's kind of, yeah.
That's horrible. That's absolutely horrible.
It is.
Entrepreneurship is not for everybody.
No.
It's not.
In fact,
and we're here.
I know a lot of people that never should have started their businesses.
And we're here to help differentiate that, make sure that people understand what it's going to take to get into entrepreneurship, what it's going to take to get into running a business, the late nights and the early mornings and, weekends, what are those, right? So that's absolutely going to be a part of it. And if that's not your cup of tea, cool.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
Nothing wrong whatsoever. So that's horrible. I mean, I feel bad for this guy.
And it's funny because that myth of, you can't become rich or wealthy or whatever working for someone else. I'm like, I would beg to disagree because there's a bunch of mailmen that die millionaires.
Yeah.
Right. And what did they do? They delivered mail for 40 years, but they spent their money wisely. They had a good pension plan. They may have had an investment plan. Like, you hear it all the time. These stories about, what was a couple of years ago, there was a janitor up in New York. He had worked his entire life as a janitor in this building. And when he passed away, they found out his net worth was like $8 million.
Yeah.
Right. And it was just because he just loved what he did. He loved being in that building. He worked loads of overtime. He made good money doing it. He was smart with his money, got lucky with a couple of investments. But I'm like, it just goes to show you that if the janitor can do it, right? It's more about if you want the lifestyle of flying on private jets and all of that stuff, then you're probably going to have to do something more than a 9-to-5 somewhere. But like, if what you want in life is to have a family and go on vacations and just enjoy your life, you can do that working for someone else.
Yeah,
and in fact, you can do it without all the headaches that come with being an entrepreneur.
So let's back up. I'm curious what your thoughts are on this. I'll share mine first. Being a business owner is not about, for me anyway, it's not about being able to make a lot of money. And that's a side effect for me. It's a good side effect, but it's a side effect. I like the idea of being in control of building something on my own. That's why I did it. That's why I want to be a business owner. That's why I own multiple businesses. We're building multiple things that I've constructed in my mind that I want to see in the real world. That's why I do it. Right? I'm sure other people have other reasons why they want to do it. I'm curious what yours are. So it's not necessarily about, it's the only way to make a lot of money. Sometimes it's just because that's my expression of creativity in my case.
Yep.
Right? What are your thoughts?
So the reason I switched the type of clients that I had when I went completely out on my own was because I realized that I had the opportunity to help fewer people fail.
Yeah.
Right. So I have taken on clients that I probably never should have taken on just to try to make sure that they don't fail in their business. Yeah. And I still think that the vast majority of businesses fail because they improperly market themselves, right? Is they don't realize how many people have to be aware of their business before someone will do business with them.
That's true.
Right? So for me, a lot of it is how many smaller businesses am I helping grow and scale? How many new jobs are we creating? Because 99% of my clients are local businesses. They're in your community. They're in your backyard. They're they're the companies that sponsor your little league team. Right? Like,
yeah, exactly. You're absolutely right.
But that to me is far more important than like, taking a Fortune 500 company and adding 3% to sales of one of their products.
Yeah.
Okay. So you get a high five and a pizza party. Great. Like, who benefits at the end? The shareholders, right?
I'll tell you another part of that too.
So unrewarding.
I'll tell you another part of the rewards is if you're working for a company, who your network is? The people that work at the company. Those are the people you go out with, you hang out with, et cetera, in most cases, right? I mean, you have your friends and stuff, but really the people you see every day are the other people that work in that company, the other employees.
Yeah.
But when you're the business owner, it's not necessarily the case. It's the people you're going out and networking with, the people that the other business owners that are looking for connections and things like that. Like, look how many friends you and I have now, right? From our networking and from our networking efforts. Hundreds of people that I can legitimately call friend, that I know I can pick up my phone right now, and if I have a question, they'll answer it. Without question, no. And whether it's a business-related question or, hey, let's go have dinner or whatever, I know for a fact I can call probably 20 people right now and get an immediate response. Yeah. That's huge. That just it opens up your world to so many different people and so many different things. And I think that's a huge part of it too. You don't get that when you're an employee.
No. So a friend of mine owns a business right up the street. I just got this picture. It's a fire.
Oh, geez.
So now I'm trying to figure out, is the building on fire?
Right.
Or
what is that?
Something
else? Is that the electric cords? Something? Electrical cords?
See, it's one of the things nobody tells you about entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
You're going to have to deal with random stuff like this. But it looks like she just texted me again. No. So, apparently that is a Verizon line.
Oh, okay.
So now my business has no internet, which means people can't send work to us.
You?
Yeah.
That's your office?
No. That's right up the street from my office.
Oh.
But that's where we get our cable from.
So you think your internet's down right now?
It is. She just texted me.
Oh, jeez.
This is the stuff nobody tells you about, right?
You got to deal with, right?
So for the rest of the day, unless they fix that real quick, people are not going to be able to get work to us.
Oh, you don't have a backup plan? You don't have backup like satellite or anything like that?
So we've had it in the past, but there is one computer that is only hardwired, which is where we get all of our print jobs to.
So put a Wi-Fi cable.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
Put a Wi-Fi adapter on it.
Correct.
Get yourself a Starlink.
I was going to.
By the way, have you looked into that Starlink?
I have not.
Apparently, every phone in America now can use Starlink.
I thought. Oh yeah. It's the partnership they're doing through T-Mobile, right?
Yeah. It's interesting. I'm curious.
They're testing. Well, not every cell phone.
No, okay,
it has to be.
You're right. Not everyone, but most of the newer ones.
Yeah, so
completely different topic. All right. Anyway,
so back when it's funny because when I used to do search and rescue, we would have satellite phones because when you're in the middle of the mountains, Iceland, there are no cell towers up there.
Oh, yeah.
You have to have
trust
satellite.
me. There's plenty of places in the United States where there's no cell towers.
And it was always interesting. Like same thing when we were out to sea.
Yeah,
there's no cell towers in the middle of the ocean, right? So it was. I think I'm just speculating, but it seems logical that the next step for a lot of communication, especially in areas where like it could cost $3 million to run a wire, it'd be like, here's a satellite box, right? Like it makes a lot more sense.
Yep.
I'm a huge proponent. Well, I shouldn't say I'm a huge proponent because I think the more we're digitally connected, the less connected we become.
Oh, absolutely.
Like when I used to take the camper out, one of the things that I would look for on a campsite was the cell signal is poor.
So that the kids couldn't get on the phones.
So nobody could get on their phones. Yeah. My wife, any of that stuff, right? And I would never ask for the Wi-Fi passwords. Like I would go camping to get disconnected, right?
I like that. But now as you become more connected anywhere you want to be, kind of makes it harder.
Yeah, but I would
So
go.
now you have to go underground to get away from the satellites.
It's gonna be a bunker camping.
All right, Project XYZ. Good luck to you. I get it. You were sold a bill of goods that was absolute BS, in my opinion. That is not what entrepreneurship is supposed to be about. It does not make you a better person. It does not put you above people that are employed or the brokies or anything like that. That is not what it's supposed to be.
Just put you on a different journey.
Yeah, exactly. Just a different journey to the same hopeful conclusion of having a good life.
Well, you find the next one.
Right.
Oh, business.
Yeah.
Oh, let's do this one first.
Okay.
Yeah, that's first.
All right. This is from, well, if you got a call because,
No, I just wanted to make sure that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because
if
that, my friend actually owns the business behind where that fire is.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure.
I'll tell you what, we'll read it and then you can step out and I'll comment on it and then you can go back in. All right.
Okay.
All right. So this is from Salt Lingonberry 780 says, business? ? Business and fashion. Hello, 23 female, about to be a nurse. Good for you. But I always wanted a business. I fell into depression after my Nana that raised me passed away. She always told me to follow my dream after she passed, I lost interest and went to nursing school. While I guess I finished this month and I'm not depressed anymore. I've been networking to see if it'll help me with my business and it's not. It's a waste of my time. Now I think I need to socialize with fashion designers and go to more fashion shows to network. The thing I love sewing, but suck at. Okay. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I love business and making sales. That's why I want to do in my fashion and in the fashion industry. I want to have a clothing line, but not so much focus on the sewing aspect. I want someone to help me bring ideas in person. Is that possible? So I can focus on marketing and sales. Okay.
I can answer this before I go because this is like a 20-second question. So all of the major fashion brands, whether it's the boutique store up the street, whether it is any of the change, none of them are making any of their clothing.
Oh, no.
What happens is you can look up companies like Leonard Feinberg, I think it is. Basically what they do is they have a showroom with a bunch of different stuff in it, and you walk around and say, I want this, 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 and this, and I need this in these sizes, and I need it in these colors. And that's how you go about getting clothing to sell and market. Like there are hardly any clothing manufacturers left that are actually like sitting there sewing that aren't out of Asia.
Right.
Right. And a lot of the brands that are coming out of Asia, this is why you can go into a Target, you can go into almost any boutique store on Fifth Avenue, and then you can find the exact same item on Shein or Temu.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Because a lot of these people don't have exclusive contracts for the clothing that they're doing. Now, there are some, I'm not saying this applies to all, right? But the vast majority of all clothing comes out of the same, call it 100 factories. And then it's just a matter of what label do they slap on it.
To put on there, to brand it.
It's funny because my uncle actually runs a clothing business in a niche industry. So they do clothing specifically for equestrian use. Okay. Right? So like the pants, the boots, the jackets and all that stuff. And that's basically what he does. He goes to these showrooms in like India, because I think India is like the primary maker of like Gore-Tex. Okay. So he goes there and he literally walks into a showroom and there'll be 50 different versions of a jacket. And if he doesn't like one of them, he'll say, hey, can we take this one and kind of bring these two things together? And that's how a lot of this fashion stuff is made. Like,
that's pretty cool.
You can sketch something out and send it to the factory and they can send you a demo back. But
so everything I know about the fashion world, I learned from Devil Wears Prada. I'm sure you've seen the movie, right?
So there's difference between fashion and high fashion.
Okay.
Right? Like if you are
I don't even know that.
Well, so like the Louis Vuittons and those of the world, the what's the dumb one that we talked about the other day where like a purse is $28,000?
Hermes.
Yeah,
Hermes,
thank you. Yes, that's a different type of world. Yeah. But that's not where most people start. Like that's not where Hilfiger and Guess and a lot of these like names that you know, that's not where they start at all. They start by going in with their ideas of something, but chances are the style or the look already exists. You're just customizing a style that already exists.
Yeah.
You're not coming up with anything new. You're not going to be the London fashion show with a
Right.
like,
Right.
yeah, it's a weird industry. And the more I look into it, and I'm sure someone's going to be in the comments saying I'm all wrong.
Maybe.
But you can look these places up. There's a handful of them in New York City, for example, that have these manufacturer showrooms.
Yep.
And if you are into fashion, you can walk through these manufacturer showrooms and you're like, oh, I saw that at Chanel. I saw this at Target. I saw this because it's all more or less made by the same importers, and it's hysterical.
All right, go make your call. I'll continue on with this without you in the room. So while Gummy steps out, I'm gonna address for Salt Ling and Berry. I'm going to address the nursing and, moving on and doing other things. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I mean, I think it's, first off, it's great that you're a nurse. Congratulations. It's a very difficult thing to do. My daughter's a nurse and very proud of her for that. And, it's wonderful. But if it's not what you want to do with your life, there's nothing wrong with that either. I'm glad to see you came out of your depression and stuff. And, if your dream is to get into fashion, you could combine the two. And I don't necessarily mean making nurse fashions, although that's kind of a cool idea. You can be a nurse during the day or at night or whatever it's going to be, and then take your weekends and some off time to start your fashion business, because it's going to take time to build it up. It's not the kind of thing that you can just do overnight. You're going to need, lots of sketches, hundreds of them probably, before you can do anything with it. You're going to need to have some clothing made. Especially if you suck at sewing, I probably wouldn't do it myself. I'd probably send it off to either China or some other shop somewhere to have your clothing made. And it's going to take time to get it right. You might just have to send it back 4 or 5 times before it's done properly for each piece. But the point is, you have a great trade already in nursing, and you can certainly apply the skills that, going through school, for the skills of the discipline and stuff that you're doing, or that you've learned to start this business. But it's going to take time, and especially in a business like that, because it's so overwhelming. It's so oversaturated. Everybody is trying to get their name out there, get their own brand out there. So I would say start with, stick with being a nurse. There's nothing wrong with that. And then come back on the weekends, nights off, whatever, and start building your brand, building your portfolio of your fashion, products. So Gummy just came back. So Gummy, what I was suggesting was, she's a nurse, or she has a nursing degree, right? Go be a nurse. Nothing wrong with that. Go be a nurse to earn your money, earn your keep. And in your spare time, start building your portfolio of your outfits, whatever you're going to be doing in fashion. And I actually said, nurse fashion might not be a bad thing to get into. Why not combine the two, right?
Yeah.
No. There are stores that just sell scrubs. That's all they do is sell scrubs.
I actually was introduced to someone.
I'm sure you have.
That
because my wife used to work in a hospital. My daughter's a nurse, and all the nurses and people in medical, they love the cool, funky scrubs if they're allowed to wear them. Not everyone allows you to do that. So anyway, I was just suggesting that, you can do both.
Oh yeah.
And you should do both. I would not give up that nursing career just yet. No. I would start with that. And while you're doing that, you can start building out your fashion portfolio.
Yeah. And you can start with a handful of items, right?
Yeah.
I always get back to Lululemon started with yoga pants.
Yeah.
Right? That was it. What did they do? They sold yoga pants.
Yeah.
Yeti started by selling coolers. Right? Yep. Like, so you can build a business.
IKEA started with selling meatballs, right? Yeah.
Right. People often forget, like Amazon started with used books.
Yeah.
Right. Like it all started with a single or low inventory item.
Yep.
And that's like, you can build a fashion business around Grunt Style. Grunt Style started with just t-shirts, right? And they weren't even making the t-shirts. They were just putting print on them. So yeah, like there's all kinds of ways to get into that industry. And it doesn't mean you have to do it full time to start. You can have a job and do it as a side hustle or as a side job, right? there's nothing wrong with working two jobs.
Not at all. And it might not even be a job at first. You might not be making money, but what you're doing at least is you're building your what's it called? Not the book. What's the book called? There's
portfolio.
Well, it's not. Is it just a portfolio?
I don't know.
Is that what artists would call their sketchbook?
That's what a lot of people call a portfolio.
Okay, so we'll just call it a portfolio. Yeah. I keep using that word. I'm not sure if it's the right word or not.
Your designs, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're building your designs, your portfolio, and eventually you have 100 or 200 things in there, and some of them are spectacular, and some of them are just okay.
But like she was saying in here that she's networked and stuff, she's probably not networking with the right people.
No, absolutely not.
You gotta network with these importers, the manufacturers. Yep. That's how you learn what your options are. That's how you learn how to cost things. That's how you learn what you can and cannot get. And then if you want to go into like the super high end of things, you basically have to be in one of the metropolitan cities where a lot of these designers are. Yeah, New York.
LA, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think Paris, Rome.
Oh, overseas, yeah.
Well, yeah. Nobody says you have to be here.
You know what you should do? Here's what you should do. Be your nurse. Go do your nurse thing. But, she says in here that she wants to go to more fashion shows to network and stuff. Start wearing your own outfits. Start designing your own outfits, wearing them, and going to the fashion shows.
But, yeah, you just have to find someone that can sew.
Well, I said earlier, I said she should contract with like a shop in China or Vietnam or something like that, where you can send but it's going to take, you're going to go back and forth 4 or 5 times at least before they get it right. But they'll be the ones to make the clothing for you.
It's all contract manufacturing, right?
Yeah, like anything else, and it's not just clothing.
I just this week, because I love studying up on different brands. Canada Goose, right?
Oh yeah.
So they sell like $2,000 jackets. Did you know that they were originally a contract manufacturer for like Eddie Bauer and
really?
Yeah, they did not. Their original brand was not Canada Goose like we know today. They actually had a different brand name, and they were a contract manufacturer, and they sold some of their own stuff.
I didn't know that.
Then the father, I think it was, that started the business, invented the machine that distributes the down evenly through the jackets.
Okay.
Which allowed them to start manufacturing both higher quality and more consistent quality, because the machine was putting the same amount of down into every, and that's how they started. Building the Canada Goose brand. And if I remember correctly, the first time they came to market was I could be wrong on this. Someone's going to correct me in the comments. But I believe they started by getting in with the Canadian Olympic team.
Oh, it's always something like that, isn't it?
Right.
It's always some celebrity or something like that.
Yeah, but like Olympic teams bid out their stuff every year.
Yeah.
So almost anybody has a chance of becoming an Olympic sponsor. Well, back then, Nike wasn't buying all these sponsorships like they are now.
Right.
So yeah, that's, if I remember correctly, I could be wrong, but if I remember
that's correctly, a pretty cool story.
That's how they got out. Yeah.
All right. Well, Salt Lingonberry 780. Good luck to you. Very, very cool thing about the nursing thing. That's a fantastic field to be in.
Did you bring up IKEA because she had lingonberry in her name?
No, I did not. That was a pure off the cuff kind of joke.
Okay.
All right. We have time for one more today. This is from Will's Now Fires.
Oh, this is a good one.
Yeah. When do I quit? Okay. I'm 3.5 years into working for myself. We've seen growth and been able.
I'm going to say, before you even read this out loud,
yeah,
the answer is probably now. Go ahead, finish reading it.
I think it's the other way around. When do I quit trying my business? I think
is that what the question is?
Yeah, I think so. We've seen growth and have been able to pay all of our bills every month, but barely. Sales are slow and inconsistent. Last year, we didn't raise sales as much. My wife and I have very little support from friends and family and less physical help. I'm disappointed and discouraged that we aren't more stable financially. Is it time to quit and go work for someone else? Or am I 3 feet from gold and just can't see it? Well, I can't answer either of those without significantly more details. But I would say if you're 3.5 years in and you can't cover your bills still, you're probably doing something wrong. You're probably missing something. 3.5 years, you should be at least covering your bills.
He's saying that they're getting by, but barely.
Right.
Right. So I don't think the problem is that you're working on your own. If I had to take a guess, if sales are slow and inconsistent, you have a marketing problem.
Issue. You have a marketing issue.
And it's amazing how often that is the answer, right? Is if you really want to see consistent growth, there is only one way to do that. More people have to know about you.
Right.
And there's only a handful of ways that more people find out about you, right? You can either get lucky or you can do it deliberately. And I deal with this all the time because I bring him up every once in a while. There's a guy does basement waterproofing and plumbing. And just last week we were having a conversation. He's like, I don't know why we're always slow and all that stuff. And I'm like, let me just give you an idea. So I have another plumber that's a client that isn't in your service area, doesn't compete with you. You're debating whether to put $300 into a Facebook campaign. Meanwhile, he's spending $30,000 per location on a single ad platform. And then you wonder why they have 56 employees and you're struggling to keep 2.
Yeah.
Like their work isn't better than yours.
You probably have a better insight into this than most people, so being from marketing. What I've always experienced from entrepreneurs, business owners, especially people just starting out, is because they can't see the immediate return of their marketing dollars, they think it's going to waste.
Happens all the time.
I know.
We are literally putting together an ad campaign right now that focuses around that.
Get out, really?
Yeah.
See, I know. I know what I'm talking about. I'm a marketer.
I deal with so many people that come to me and say, well, I've tried marketing in the past and it didn't work. And I go, okay, perfect. What did you try? And they're like,
I put an ad on Facebook.
We ran an ad on Facebook for 45 days and got nothing from it. Okay. Did you get data from it? Did you see how many people viewed it? Did you see your click-through rates? Did you see it?
What was your A/B testing like?
Did you do any adjustments? Not even A/B testing. Did you try to adjust the ad? Did you try to adjust the copy? Did you try to, it's not an exact science, right? And they were like, yeah. But that is most often the case is people will try marketing, but they try it for too short of a time, right? Like, I always give the example. Nike tried to get into golf equipment, so they had Tiger Woods, right? Like they had Tiger.
I mean, that's all they could get.
That's the only guy they could get at the time, Tiger Woods, to help promote the golf equipment.
Right.
But they didn't give up until years later. Like they tried that market for years, and they had Tiger Woods. Right? Like you would have thought that more people would go out and buy Nike golf clubs because it's Tiger Woods. But that is trying marketing. That is multi-million dollars over multiple years before they decided this is not going to work. But small business owners go, oh, but I did it for 60 days and I got nothing from it. My favorite is when I just got asked this today, do door hangers still work? Yeah, door hangers still work. 100% they work.
Sometimes they work better than before.
Correct.
Because you're not used to seeing them anymore.
Do door hangers work if you're hanging it on 3 houses? No. Right? But if you go to a development and you're in the right industry that it's suitable for, and you put door hangers twice a month for 3 months, you can bet your hiney they work. Right? Same thing. I get asked, well, does direct mail work? Yes, direct mail still works. Right now, there's less competition in your mailbox than there is on your social media. Right? If you think about it realistically.
Yeah.
And this is where so many people go wrong. And the other thing is it's the fear of the money, right?
100%.
Because you're like, they probably can't afford marketing, and they can't afford marketing because there's a business problem. Either you aren't priced high enough to make your margins, right? Because you have to, marketing should be part of how you calculate your margins. And a lot of people don't do that, right? They just go, oh no, that's just a business expense. No,
right.
it's a sales expense. It's part of what it's going to cost you to promote your business, to get money. It should be
right.
a standard calculation. But a lot of times I run into people that are like, well, I want to scale my business, right? So they're already making money. Let's say, we'll take my deck builder, for example. Uh-huh. So he started his business last year. He grossed $160,000 his first year, right? Gross. And then he was like, how do I get to the next level? And I said, well, you're going to have to spend $30,000 next year on marketing. And he's like, well, but then I'm going to make less.
And
yes, you might have to take a pay cut to grow the business.
Temporarily,
right?
Yeah.
Like you
one step forward, take 2 steps back, 1 step,
correct.
3 steps forward.
You take the $30,000 pay cut this year to make an extra $60,000 next year. Like it's called reinvesting your money, right? But
they're looking for the short-term return. It's the instinct. We are so. I mean, it's always been an issue with marketing, always. Mm-hmm. So it's not just in the age of the internet, but in the age of the internet, we are so ingrained with the instant gratification. You click and it's there.
Yes, and it's funny because like I don't even want to attribute this to people. Like I think it's because a lot of people don't understand, right? Because even our buddy Joe, that was on here the other day, right? I remember he came to me one day and he said, should I be going to more networking events?
The answer is always yes.
Correct, right? Like,
always.
Absolutely. The more people know about you, the more businesses you can connect with, the better off you're going to be. And he's like, well, because he wants to scale his business now. He wants to get more customers. So it's now been a little over a year since I laid out an entire ad campaign for him.
Yeah.
And all it's waiting on is him to record 3 30-second video clips. It's been 14 months.
We'll just use the videos he shot here.
I am still waiting on the video clips. And he keeps telling me, oh, I want to grow. I want to grow. I want to get in front of more people. Right. And I'm like, okay, so there's 2 ways to do it. Either get your butt out there and meet more people, or use advertising to get in front of more people. Yeah. Those are your only 2 options.
I got to read the comments from Intra Alpha here because it's perfect. He's absolutely right. All right. Intra Alpha says 3 years. You are not bankrupt. You pay your bills each month. This is success. You already won. 95% fail before this point. Good job. How long till it's easier? Never. How long until your P&L pays you and a nice distribution at the end? Unknowable. When will you stop being disappointed? Never. When will it not feel like you could have done better? Never. Embrace this pain and move forward, or quit because you can't take it. Doesn't matter if it's 3 feet from gold or 3,000 feet. You'll never be able to tell. Just take the next step forward. There is no other plan.
Yep.
Wow. I'm going to frame that. That's exactly right. Yeah. That is spot on. We gave some good advice. That's spot on. Yes,
but we have touched on this. I was just watching one of the clips on YouTube.
Yeah.
Where we were talking about how long it takes to develop a product, right? People think it's like, oh, next month I'll have this product and I'll sell 1 million units.
Right.
No, you could potentially have a prototype by next month, and in 3 years you could sell 1 million units. Yeah. Like it's unpredictable, but you don't know when you're going to sell the 1 million units.
Right.
It could be the day after you get your prototype. It could take 3 years. Right. But if you don't make it to that point, if you quit before then, you'll never sell the 1 million units.
You'll never know what's going to happen. And sometimes, again, we talk about networking, we talk about doing this, doing that. Sometimes it's just doing the one thing somewhere. You run into the right person at the right time, and everything changes for you.
It's funny because I like using the story of Stanley Cups. Stanley Cups had been a consistent business for 3 decades?
Yeah, something like that.
They hadn't really seen any growth. They weren't contracting. They had just been steady, right? Then they had that one moment with the influencer,
right,
where her car burned and she went in, and the only thing that was left was the Stanley Cup, right? That was the opportunity. What did Stanley Cups do? They totally embraced it. They started making special edition cups. They started doing a bunch of stuff that nobody there had thought of because that wasn't their market. Right. And now Stanley Cups, I think, has like tripled or something like that over the last few years. Like, it's crazy.
Because it's something they didn't even, they couldn't foresee. They couldn't foresee it. It wasn't their idea. They couldn't put money toward it.
Now, there had been a buildup to that moment, right? Like, there was the influencer that was like, I found my husband's Stanley Cup and I can't believe he's been keeping this away from me, right? Like, she realized that Stanley Cups
great
are
stuff.
Correct, right? So other people went out and bought Stanley Cups. Well, Stanley Cups were only made in like, I don't know, 4 colors. Like, they were incredibly boring because they were made for workers and campers. Like, no, I wanted green, black, or stainless steel. Like, it's functional value, not style value.
Right.
But the moment they got pushed into that, the moment they saw the opportunity to become a style item, they totally embraced it. Now you are buying Stanley Cups for like $150 on the secondary market,
right? Because
it was a limited edition color that was released in like a burgundy pink, whatever the hell
burgundy pink,
like
it's a mauve,
right? Like whatever the color is, but they embraced it, right? But that was an opportunity where you had been really, really steady. Right. And all of a sudden you saw explosive growth because of something that happened or an opportunity that you took.
Yep. And if you had quit and given up before that, it wouldn't have happened.
They could have kept the course. They could have stayed steady with their 2% or 5% annual growth, whatever it was. Right. And that's kind of what I feel like with this is you're 3.5 years in, you're getting by, like your Stanley Cups that just kind of was coasting along.
Right.
There was no pain that was bad enough for you to make a change, and there was nothing that made you happy enough or wanting it enough to make a change.
Right.
In their instance, it was an outside force that kind of triggered it, but sometimes you have to find that yourself. You have to find what is that one change that I'm going to make that's going to take me from just going by to actually like becoming successful, right? And I always joke with people, like I used to hate TikTok. That was the dumbest app ever. And now we get...
Oh, you're having so much business.
We get 60% of all of our new business from TikTok just because I did it as a joke and got like 7,000 followers in my first like 9 days. And I was like, maybe there's something here, right? But if it wasn't for someone jokingly said, I don't think you can build a following on TikTok, right?
Right.
Because I'm boring as hell. And I'm like, I know I'm boring as hell.
You are kind of boring.
But if I was able to do that in 9 days, I was like, I could totally do this on the business side.
This is a fun podcast. You're not boring. It's good stuff.
Yes.
All right. We'll Snow Fires. Stick it out. Look, if you're not, and again, the guy below said it perfectly, if you're not going bankrupt, if you're paying your bills, if you can get by, yes, maybe you can't take that luxury vacation right now. It's only been 3.5 years.
I don't know why people think 3.5. It's that we talk about this a lot too, is people have these perception of how long something could take.
Yeah. They think it should happen so fast.
I think I was 2.5 years in to my business when I actually could consider replacing my car.
Right.
Right. Like up until that point, it was just whatever this car does, it's going to get repaired. It's a beater car and I'm going to have to drive it. And I still have a picture. Like I went to trade it in and the dealership just looked at me and said, we're not taking that. Right. Like
how much are you going to pay us to take it off your hands?
That's basically what they ended up saying. Right. So I actually have a picture somewhere where it's being hauled away on a flatbed because it wasn't even running anymore.
So right to the dump.
But like that's how much I had to use that car.
Yep.
While I was first starting out, there was no other choice.
All right. So with that, I think we'll call it a day.
I think so.
Yeah, good stuff today. Yeah. I like helping people. I like the subreddit Entrepreneurship.
I do
come
too.
back to this at some point.
Yeah. So. All the other ones are like, I'm looking for a technical co-founder.
Looking for a technical co-founder or something about AI.
That's
what it is too. All right, buddy. Have a great week, man. We'll talk later.